Hi guys, Trevor Swenson with Through the Darkness. My journey and battle with PTSD and trauma and stressor disorder. Wanted to cover a topic today that I am very, very passionate about. I started a mini series on dogs, my dog Murphy, and what I've done to train Murphy. And I thought tonight that I would share 10 tips that really, really stood out to me as I was training my dog. Things that the dog taught me. I've already touched on the book that I literally fell into and just fell in love with. My love of the Navy SEAL community and how much they've impacted my life personally was part of me being very passionate about the book Team Dog, Training Your Dog the Navy SEAL Way. It's written by Mike Ritland, who's a top Navy SEAL dog trainer. I love the way he goes about training dogs, his deep love for the dogs, his passion in making sure that the training is almost 100% positive reinforcement, and his focus on allowing the dog to think and figure things out. And it's been one of the most amazing things as I've trained Murphy to be a service dog for me with my sleep disorders and with my social aversion that has come roaring into the picture over the last year or so. And so I wanted to share 10 quick tips, touch on them very quickly, and hopefully you can think about them, replay this if you would like, but 10 things that were very important and stood out in Murphy's training. Number one is to smother your dog in stimulus. Murphy and I spent literally hundreds of hours in very, very busy places with lots of noise, places with lots of people, escalators, glass stairwells, traffic, crosswalks, and he was very, very young. He's only 8 months old, but we took just a ton of time to get as much stimulus when he was young as possible, riding on four-wheelers, put him in the bucket of a tractor while it was running, but just to get him to where he was rock solid and not jumpy when it came to stimulus. And it's been awesome watching him in a busy retail store, how nothing phases him. Things falling off shelves, carts going by, groups of kids running by, things along those lines. So number one is lots of stimulus. Number two is let them think. It's amazing if you slow down and if you watch a dog and something clicks with them, especially when you're going between commands. My dog is trained in Aramaic, so only I can communicate with my dog and my family can communicate with the dog, but only I can communicate with the dog in public. And it's so cool to watch them think they know what you said, and then it clicks with them that you actually said another word. So for instance, if I say mata, which means to lay down, and he positions himself between my legs, which is menahel, I can watch the process of him think, wait a second, mata, menahel, and he'll jump and he'll correct himself. And it's so much fun watching a dog actually learn how to think. So let them think on their own. The number one tip that helped me in training my dog is the command, click, and reward, which is outlined in Team Dog very much in detail. And essentially what it is you have a inexpensive clicker that you can buy just about anywhere for training dogs, and you give a command. When they do it, you click and you give them a reward, and you do that thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and it actually does something to their brain to where it becomes more automated. So command, click, and then a treat, a reward. And it literally hardwires, to me, it's hardwired my dog to where my dog is just nails. just brass tacks on the things that I want him to do. And I completely give the book Team Dog credit for teaching how to do that correctly. The other thing is it has to do with a chapter in the book where he talks about how in the world do you get a dog to step onto an idling helicopter and fly. And the answer to it is one little step at a time. And so if there is something that is challenging, what I learned is that every little bit of progress that a dog makes in a difficult task is a reward situation. And it's so cool to see a dog completely afraid of a four-wheeler and then able to jump on the back of a running four-wheeler by the time you're training him to do that task is, him or her to do that task is complete. And so really there's nothing that you can't teach a dog to do. It's just what's important to you in helping you with your disability or your whatever it is that you're struggling with where you need a dog to help you on a daily basis. Watch the dog continually is the next step. A couple of things happen. Number one, you don't miss mistakes. And number two, it takes your mind off of what would be triggers all around you. One of the most therapeutic things that I was able to do in the training of Murphy as I went out into the public is that even though I was uncomfortable because it was a dog and it was in a public place, my focus was so much on every single thing that the dog did that I found myself not worried about the attention and everything else that I was anxious about, the things that were triggering. So pay attention continually to every little thing that your dog does and reinforce the things that they're doing correctly and completely ignore the things that they are doing poorly. It's very simple. Have very, very high standards. A good example that I can give of this is that I don't want my dog, when I say chev, which is to heel next to me on my left side, I don't want a sloppy heel. I don't want it to be a sloppy chev. And so he doesn't get reinforced until he's leaning into me, leaning into my knee, looking up directly into my eyes. And so the point is, have very, very high standards for your dog. Work with them to get it absolutely perfect and start with the most simple and basic things. The next tip is differentiating between go time and it's time for me to be a dog. For me, that time is as soon as his vest goes on, he knows it's go time. When that vest goes on, there is zero wiggle room for him being a dog. When the vest is off, I give him the free rein to be a dog within reason, to run energy off, to jump over things, to chase our other dog around, to interact with kids in an appropriate manner, to sit on the couch, to do tricks, things along those lines. But when it's go time, when that vest goes on, there's absolutely zero wiggle room for that dog to be making mistakes. And he knows that. His demeanor changes, his level of focus changes, and so make sure you have a very clear delineation between go time and it's time to be a dog. Repetition. I think it goes without being said that repetition is one of the keys to training a dog. I have found that repetition, there isn't anything that my dog doesn't do at this particular point. If he wants to do it, he's going to do 3 or 4 things for me first. To give you a very good example, when I feed my dog Murphy, he knows that he is going to have to go through a very quick 5 or 6 different commands with me before he gets the incredible distraction of the food that is in front of him. And so the food is very distracting, but I want him to be able to be distracted by the food, but clear thinking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do them perfectly. Okay, now you can eat. Which brings me to point number 9. Nothing happens with that dog without me telling it that it can do it. That has helped me a lot. For instance, he sleeps with me to help me with my insomnia, to help me with my sleep apnea. That dog knows, and I've trained that dog that it cannot get out of bed until I give it the command to leave the bed. There is no sloppiness. If I have to get up and use the bathroom in the morning, he knows that he can't get sloppy and jump out of bed and run downstairs and start his day. He knows that his day starts when I tell him it starts. And it just leads to a more disciplined dog. Same thing goes for taking my dog in and out of the vehicle when we're at a place, a public place, and we're going to go in and work or shop or train. He knows that he does not get out of that truck until I give him the command of duka, which is down, to get out of the truck. He knows that when we get to the truck, when we're done, balam, you sit. You let me get everything into the truck that I need to get into truck. And when I say foots, he jumps into the vehicle. And so every aspect of the dog, he knows, goes through me. And it develops a deep sense of trust, and it develops a deep sense of responsibility in the dog and in our relationship together, which is just absolutely fantastic. And the last thing is this. It's one of the most important things. In the book Team Dog, Mike talks about a situation in somebody's garage where somebody was fixing a car and broke a nut off of an engine block or whatever it might be. And the dog happened to be in the garage at the time, and the guy freaked out, started throwing wrenches, started throwing a temper tantrum, and lo and behold, the dog would never go into a garage again. The takeaway from that I'm going to leave you with is always, 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 always keep your cool with your dog. Not only has it been healthy for me with battling PTSD and the ups and downs and the anger and the other emotions that I battle, but keeping your cool at all times with the dog has clearly allowed my dog to be a more well-mannered, less spastic dog, because I refuse to short fuse on my dog or to show incredibly strong emotion unless it is a dangerous situation like traffic or approaching another dog when he's not supposed to, whatever it might be. But flying off the handle, dogs are smart. And one of the reasons I love dogs so much, I want you to think about this as I close. They have all of the attributes that we wish humans had, and they have them all the time. Dogs are wonderful. I hope a dog can become part of your PTSD journey. I hope you have great luck. Again, Team Dog is the way that I went with Mike Ritland. Fantastic book. I wish you the absolute best. I want you to remember that even though it's tough right now, that you are being watched over by a God who created you, who loved you, who sent his son, that as he hung on a cross, knew your name, knew all of your shortcomings, and loves you more today than he has ever loved you, in spite of PTSD, in spite of your mistakes. He is for you, and I invite you to ask him into your life, because it will make an enormous difference in your journey with PTSD. This is Trevor Swenson with Through the Darkness. I cannot wait to see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Please click subscribe, hit the notification bell. Be well.